Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, what if I told you that being good with money, it has almost nothing to do with how smart you are, but everything to do with how you behave? That's the big idea we're diving into today, straight from the psychology of money. And trust me, it might just change how you see everything about your finances.
So here it is, the core idea that flips everything on its head. Your success with money, it's not about how well you can do math or fill out a spreadsheet. Nope, it's all about your personal history, the experiences you've had.
And that means if you really want to understand your financial future, you've got to look back first. We all have this really personal, unique relationship with money. You could almost think of it as being encoded in your financial DNA.
Seriously, every single financial choice you make, every single one, is basically an echo of your past. Maybe you grew up watching your parents totally stress out over bills every month. Or maybe you were the kid who got all the new gadgets, no questions asked. Either way, those experiences are quietly pulling the strings on how you handle risk, how you save, and how you spend, even today.
And there's actually a psychological term for this. It's called recency bias. It's this little mental glitch that tricks us into thinking that whatever just happened to us is how the world will always work. So, let's say you lost some money in the stock market last year. That feeling, that sting, is so powerful it might make you swear off investing forever. Even though, decades of data show it's a good long-term bet. Why? Because your personal pain feels way more real than some boring chart.
So, I want you to just think about your own story for a second. What was that moment for you? That turning point, where you suddenly felt that fire to go out and earn money? Getting a handle on that personal why, that is the real first step to actually getting control of your finances.
All right, now let's shift gears and talk about maybe the single most powerful force for building wealth. And it's not what you think. It's not about landing some huge six-figure salary or finding the next Amazon before anyone else. No, it's something way more quiet, way more subtle, but unbelievably powerful. We're talking about compounding.
Just look at Warren Buffett. We all know the name. He started investing when he was just a kid, 10 years old. And by the time he hit 60, he was worth a cool $1 billion. I mean, that's an incredible success story by any measure, right? But believe it or not, that's not even the jaw-dropping part. Because here's where it gets absolutely wild. In the next 30 years, after he turned 60, his wealth didn't just grow, it exploded. From that $1 billion to over $100 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. He made 99% of his entire fortune after he could have started collecting Social Security.
And that right there reveals the secret sauce. Buffett's real genius wasn't some magical ability to pick stocks. It was his ridiculous, superhuman patience. The magic ingredient, the thing that makes compounding work, isn't being a genius or taking crazy risks, it's just time. Plain old time. Letting your money sit and grow for decades, that's what creates those insane exponential returns.
And this isn't just a stock market thing. We saw the same principle play out, but on hyperspeed with the early crypto investors. The people who got into Bitcoin or Ethereum way back when, the ones who just held on for dear life through all that crazy volatility, they saw the power of compounding in a way that was just explosive in a totally new kind of asset.
Okay, so we've established that time is our biggest ally, our greatest asset, but here's the catch. The number one thing that's going to stop you from using that time is not a stock market crash. It's your own brain. We've all got these little mental traps, and we have to learn how to spot them and overcome them.
For starters, our brains come pre-installed with something called a negativity bias. Basically, it means that the pain of losing, say, $100 feels way worse than the joy of finding $100. And this little quirk has a massive effect on how we handle our money.
I mean, this bias is pretty much what fueled the massive panic back in the 2008 financial crisis. People were watching their retirement accounts just bleed out, and that fear became so overwhelming, they sold everything. Right at the very bottom, they locked in those huge losses. And at the same time, the investors who managed to fight that fear, who just held on, well, they were rewarded in a very big way.
So here's a practical takeaway. The next time the market takes a nosedive and you feel that sick knot in your stomach, you have to stop and ask yourself a really important question. Am I making this decision based on facts and my long-term plan, or am I letting pure fear and emotion take the wheel?
Okay, so let's say we get past our fears and actually start building some wealth. We need to be crystal clear on what the goal even is, because the picture of wealth that society sells us, a lot of the time, it's just a complete illusion.
Yeah, we're all trained to think wealth looks like a supercar or designer logos or luxury vacations. But that's just the stuff you can see. That's the illusion. Real true wealth is invisible. It's the money you don't spend. It's the assets that are working for you in the background, giving you control over your own time and the freedom to choose your own path.
Just think about it for a second. Somebody driving a super flashy car, but they're completely stressed out every single month about making that payment? That person isn't free. They're basically a slave to that car payment. The truly wealthy person might be the one driving a simple, paid-off car, but who has zero debt and the financial freedom to say no to a job they hate or an opportunity they don't want.
And to get that kind of genuine freedom, you have to break out of one of the biggest traps of modern life. I'm talking about the moving goalpost, the endless desire for just more.
There's a name for this too. It's called hedonic adaptation. It's this funny thing humans do, where we get used to new things incredibly fast. So you get a big raise at work, right? And it feels amazing for a few weeks. But then, pretty soon, that new salary just feels normal. It becomes your new baseline, and you start looking towards the next raise. It's a cycle that just never, ever ends if you let it. The only way to actually win that dangerous game is to just stop playing. You have to be the one to define what enough actually means. For you. Not for your neighbor with the new boat, not for the people you follow on Instagram, for your actual life. What is the number, the amount of money that would genuinely make you feel satisfied and content?
But, okay, once you've defined that enough number for yourself, you have to get really brutally honest about what it's going to cost to get there. Because every single goal, and especially a financial one, has a price tag attached.
You know, in economics, they call this opportunity cost. It just means that by choosing to do one thing, you are, by definition, choosing not to do something else. Every financial goal demands a trade-off. You just can't have it all. So you have to make a conscious choice about what you're willing to give up to get the thing you really want.
And that sacrifice, that cost could be short-term fun, like a student who skips weekend parties so they can take an online course that'll help their career. Or it could be something much bigger, like an entrepreneur sacrificing precious time with their family to get a new business off the ground. The point is, there is always a cost.
And really, that's the final, most important takeaway here. Building the life you want, it isn't just about dreaming about what you're going to gain. It's about being brutally honest about the price and then finding the courage to actually pay it. So the real question, the one I want to leave you with, is this: what are you willing to trade for the life you truly want?